Hello, it's Jim Hutchens for the Jerusalem Connection Spot Report for this week. You've heard the old adage, confession is good for the soul. Well, our president has made a confession. He has no strategy. He has no strategy for ISIS, for the terrorist group that wants to take over the world. He has no strategy for the Russians who want to invade Ukraine. He has no strategy for Syria, that's contributing to the greater Islamic State, has no strategy for Iraq, has no strategy for Gaza, Israel, and Hamas, except to say to Israel, don't overdo it. Remember who you are. Has no strategy for the economy, has no strategy for the immigration. This man has no strategy. We are led by a tragically dysfunctional leadership. That's where we are. Those are the facts on the ground. And they're indisputable. Everybody who realistically looks at the scene recognizes this. But the unknown factor in this quotient is God's viewpoint. And God does have a viewpoint. For several years I served on the board of the National Association of Evangelicals. And we contended that we represented some 80 million evangelicals in the United States. Now that's over a fourth of the population of the United States. Now these are not all, walking closely to the Lord, but they bear the name Christian. And there are others outside the evangelical camp that would likewise bear that name. So that is a factor I would suggest that should be considered in light of this state of dysfunctionality that we're in this country. We're led by the personification of incompetence. But there's still 80 million Americans who claim to be evangelicals. Another factor that impacts this is God's word concerning who's in control. Daniel chapter 4, the prophet says, "The Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms of men, and he gives them to anyone that he wishes, and he places over them the basest, the lowliest of men." Now, I would suggest that we have seen an example of that. We are experiencing an example of the lowliest of men being in charge of our government, of this kingdom. And yet, we're told in Romans chapter 13 that, Romans chapter 13 verse 1, the authorities that exist, all authorities that exist, have been established by God. There is no authority except that which God has established. So now that's saying that God is in control of our situation. He's given us the lawmakers, the government leaders that we have. Why has he done that? Why on earth has he done that? It's embarrassing. It's humiliating for us to take this stand. Our leaders, our enemies don't fear us. They don't respect us. Our allies don't trust us, nor should they. Why has God allowed this? Well, I think it's for a very specific reason. I think we're entering the times that the scriptures refer to as the latter days. And I think what God is doing with regard to this country is removing it from relevance. We are fastly becoming, if the trend lines continue in the direction they're going, we are going to be irrelevant to the major crises, the major decisions that take place in the world today. We've been a world power, and we still are. We have the capacity for it, but I'm not sure that we have the energy, the determination, the will for it. I don't think we do, frankly, under this leadership. And it would be very difficult to turn it around. So why has God done this? I think he has done this and is doing this in order to put a partial shield of protection about those 80 million. We are a Christian nation. In the heartland, we are that. Predominantly that. There's no question about it. Our president may dispute that, but that is a fact. We are a Christian nation. And God looks after his people. And I'm thinking that he's put a partial bubble, if you will, around us. That does not mean that we will escape all judgment. Peter tells us that the judgment must begin in the house of the Lord. And if it begins in God's house, what will it be when it goes to the world? We will be subject. God's people, they are as we speak. Christians are being beheaded the world over. And we will be subject to the wrath of man. To what extent, I don't know. But it seems to me that what God is doing is placing us within a relatively protective shield. And only he can do that because he's sovereign over it. But we are going to be increasingly inconsequential as far as the world affairs are concerned. And that's God's means of not isolating us. We'll still carry on our lives much as in the same way that we are. Possibly, I don't know what kind of alterations will be made. But I know this, and this should encourage us. God is in control. The Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms of men. All authorities been given to Jesus. All authority in heaven and earth. Yahweh has established his throne in heaven, and his kingdom rules over all. Over all. Be encouraged. We are the children of God. His hand is upon us. Till next week, Od Ki Yavo Shiloh, until Messiah comes, Yivaraka Yahweh. God bless you. God bless yours.